Howdy, guys and girls. Welcome back to another episode of Bros with Brains, here with Mr. Chris Black and Benjamin Button Mayfield. Hopefully you guys are well and have had a good week since we last spoke to you, because you didn't speak to us because you guys are rude. You should just DM us all. And when I say all, I mean just DM Ben and just tell him how you're feeling, because he wants to know.
Ben's the one that will care. Ben's the one that will care how
Chrissy's back. Chrissy's back.
Chris is on the Wi-Fi, so we know
5 minutes in.
Yeah, we know he's going to be slowing down again.
I could switch onto the old hotspot, but I don't know if that'll cut the connection. Shall we just roll with it? What do you think?
Your call. Yeah, I mean, you can always make an appearance back, make disappearing act.
All right, let me do that, because that worked really well last week.
And it actually did. It was.
How
it was
your
good.
phone internet is better than your fucking NBN is beyond me.
Because it's not NBN. He's still on dial-up.
All right, I'm back.
All right, look, there you go. Didn't even cut out.
Over.
Didn't even cut out. Look at that. Beautiful.
Quicker than me. That's quick.
How are we, boys? What's been happening?
Feeling absolutely fantastic.
He's got a positive spruce to his step, Chrissy, in his prep. It's good. I like it.
Well, the funny thing is with Chris, when he says it like that, you don't know if he's being sarcastic or
there's definitely a bit of like sass to it.
Like is he though? Like, we don't know. We're just going to roll with it. We're gonna.
I'm legitimately feeling pretty good.
We're just going to interpret it the way we're going to interpret it and keep going forward.
It's free for everyone to take it how I feel like.
Yeah. So listeners, if Chris says he's okay or feeling good, well, take it as you will.
I'm feeling 6 weeks out. 7 weeks out. 6 weeks out, 7 weeks out.
Yeah,
something
nice.
Like it's coming up quick, isn't it?
It is coming up fucking quick.
It is, yeah. I think we started with you just starting prep.
Flying by, dude. They're just going like that.
Yeah. What are you weighing now?
Hit a new low this week, like 91.5.
Yeah, shit.
So we've shifted a bit. We've shifted a bit.
Last 3 kilos to come off too. 3 or 4 kilos.
Yeah, I reckon another 3 or another 3 or 4, 3.5, 4 maybe to come off. Just get
you'll probably get to like week 3 or 4 and do a practice fill up.
I think I've got a diet break in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. So that'll be the test.
So I mean, maybe not the test, but we'll like coincide that with the deload. We'll get a good understanding. I actually reckon I'll probably drop a ton of weight after that, because typically I'll like hold, and then as soon as I get a refeed, it'll be like whoosh, all that stress accumulation, diet fatigue just kind of washes off, and like I actualize the losses. So that can be a good point for the listeners. Like if you're in a prep, like body weight's very much a good tool to use at the beginning of a contest prep towards the middle half, because it's always usually pretty linear. But towards the back end, because you go through these like, stress and hold periods with your body weight, like, and it can be feeling like you're banging your head against the wall. You just have to get on the scale, be completely objective, take the number, jot it down, and then boom. As soon as you have a refeed or something and you start to drop, or a deload, and you drop some, accumulated stress and fatigue away, you'll actually see that loss on the scale kind of materialize, which it can be hard for some people because they just want to see it so bad that they start stressing about it so much that they almost get this like cortisol response from the weight not dropping.
Yeah.
For me, I couldn't give
it's like a bloke in an orgasm. The more you try and think about it, the less it happens.
Exactly.
Tell me I'm wrong.
We're going to put that on a t-shirt. Put it on a bumper sticker.
No, I actually agree. Yeah. The desire to lose weight becomes such a psychological hindrance that you start to actually impede the weight loss, because it's such a fixated number that you get anxious and acutely stress responding to it because it's not doing what you want, instead of just looking at the objective facts and being like, well, this is one of many metrics that we have.
Yes,
now, I thought I'd be feeling worse this close, to be honest.
Well, I mean, you still got a few weeks to go.
I mean, no, just in relative to previous
we have time for you to feel worse. It's okay.
I mean, relative to previous preps, that 10-week out mark, like I was fucking hauling ass. And I actually put it down to literally one thing. Before, in all of my preps, I was always training on the limiter to failure every single set.
Yeah.
This is the first prep where I've actually kept reps in reserve and like gone and scaled the reps in reserve, as I've gone through a mesocycle. So starting at like a 2 to 3, moving into a 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2, and then maybe touching on failure for some sets. And the difference in the look and the fullness and the fatigue accumulation has been night and day.
Well, who would have thought that, being in an energy deficit would impede your recovery?
Yeah, that's true.
Who would have thought? That's me being sarcastic for those that are listening, just in case you can't.
It can be hard to let go of that notion.
Can't see the visual.
That like pushing the training on the red line.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess it's also sometimes you do feel good, and sometimes you'll push certain exercises just a little bit harder. But the exercises you do push harder aren't those that are going to accumulate fatigue to a point where you're going to be basically necked for the next 3 days.
No,
right?
of course. I'll be pushing hard on a seated leg curl.
Yeah,
on the hack, I'll take it to a 1 to 2 RIR.
Exactly. It's kind of like, you grab a bicep curl and you go to failure because it's a bicep curl. It's like, cool.
We all probably train in that similar degree, right? Like that's the heavier compound movements or exercises where we'll probably do that 1 RIR to make sure. But then, like, who's pulling a 2 to 3 RIR on tricep extensions or bicep curls?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
We'll probably program it, but don't do as we say, not as we do.
Yeah, I mean, if you're inside a prep, obviously, and you get into that back end of a prep where energy is really starting to drop, it's like, well, that makes sense. On the bigger compound movements, you're going to leave some reps left because you need to be able to recover for it. Because again, you're going to have to hit that session the following week. Whereas, with a smaller muscle group, we know most of the time it's going to recover just that little bit faster, just that little bit easier. So it's like we can push that a little bit more. And sometimes like we do have that in our heads where it's like, fuck, am I training hard enough? I need to push one exercise somewhere to failure or close to failure or push it harder or what you deem to be hard. So it's like, okay, well, pick an exercise that you're going to recover from. Calf raises.
I mean, for me, the way that I've kind of been combating that throughout this block is like, am I training hard enough? It's like, because I'm always logging, we obviously log every lift that we do. So it's like, regardless, there's a performance relative increase to the previous week. So at the end of the day, I was harder than I did last week. So at the end of the day,
it's like,
I just say, coming back from Melbourne, so I've always been a enter into phone data. I have been so much more acutely responsive to my information. I just went and got books and started writing it down. And I just felt so much more like, it's just something I always used to get frustrated at and be like, I'm just never going to be a guy with a book in the thing. But I always found like inputting on my phone just made it so much slower and like it was taking away from my focus on the session.
You're way more focused like intra-session, and you can actually like flick back and think what you actually did last week. And I find myself not getting too far ahead of myself. Like if I'm looking at shit sometimes on my phone, I'll see, I did 5 kilos less or 10 kilos less the previous week.
Yeah.
But like, I don't actually like for whatever reason, because I must have written that session out or whatever. I don't know, Ben, you might be able to explain this a little bit better than I can, but I just feel like I'm more connected to the previous session I've done. And I don't know if that's like, there's some sort of, I don't know, what would you put that down to? Because
you've written it or in the phone?
No, because I've written it. Like I've written it down on paper. Like I'll still track all my lifts and stuff. I'll go back and put it into the sheets later.
Yeah.
But just intra-session, like when I'm just looking back at the previous session I've done, I'm much more likely to like use that previous session as a gauge. So if I'm trying to beat it by 1 rep or 2 reps, I'll stick to that as opposed to like, I might add 5 kilos. I might add 10 kilos. End up cooking myself,
I'd say what I could put it down to is generally, so like we have like obviously things like our Jesus Christ,
just Aaron.
The what?
Just Aaron.
Just Aaron. Oh, for fuck's sake. We have environmental triggers and memories and recalls and stuff like that. So what I would put it down to is that the ingraining and the motor connection that comes with using writing techniques is very common when people that journal and stuff as well, and people that do thought recollections through writing, is you're reminding yourself of the situation that you're in, which was obviously the training environment, because it's written down. So then going back and sort of stimulating and triggering that recall is that, oh yeah, fuck, last week was a 6 session. I kicked ass that week. I was like 3 to 5 kilos heavier. Cool. I'm going to try and linearly progress this rep up this set, as opposed to like in your phone. It's just kind of like, you might've filled it out at home. You might've filled it out on the way home. Might've filled it out somewhere else doing a shit. I don't know. I'd say that environmental trigger is probably just a good recall for how you felt, and seeing that you might've had like that. Because I know you guys do your RPE at the end of the session, how did it actually feel out of 10? I'd say that would be,
actually, like intra-session as well with like RIR. Actually, that's another good point. So like, that's something I won't do when I'm like logging into the sheets, just because I couldn't be fucked to do it. But like when I'm actually intra-session, if I'm like on a hack squat and let's just say I've got 160 on the hack squat and I got like 10 reps or something, I'll actually just write a note. I might just put 1 or 2 RIR or 1 to 2 RIR. And that gives me a really good gauge when I go back to the previous week. Whereas if I'm just looking back at the sheets and maybe it said 160, 165 or something like that, I have no recollection of actually how close that proximity to failure was on that previous set. Mm-hmm. Whereas now it's like, I actually can go back and see, I write more information and give myself better notes for the next time I come back and perform that session. So I feel like progression has been better. My knees have been really good, which is a fucking big one for me. I got like I don't have old man knees, but if I run it on the red line limiter,
some of them dick sucking knees,
all the dick sucking.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting one too, because we have like two facets of data collection. We do have, whether we write them down on our phone or in a book, but then we also have recording. And sometimes the way, and this is where I always have my issues with RPE versus RIR, but writing down after that set, hey, that felt like, RIR too. And then we, look at it and we look at the speed of the reps and we're like, oh, okay, maybe because it felt a certain way. And then maybe the speed of it, looking at it, you're like, oh, maybe I did have a couple more extra reps in there. And then that way you have more data to go against. So it's like Chris will write down the, RIR for that hack squat, for example. I'll record it because the other difference is I'm in a growth phase and Chris is in a deficit, going through a prep. So it's like, I know I'm pushing balls to wall every session that I'm going to anyway. So it's like my gauge is always more. I need either more weight or more reps or something more. So it's like I can push that and I can look at the video from last week's hacks and be like, yeah, all right, I did not have another rep there. So this is going to make it very interesting for this week. Or I could be like, yeah, I had another 2 reps there. So I'm going to push those extra 2 reps and see how we go. But I mean, everyone's a little bit different in that aspect, right?
I think the other thing too to be considerate too is when people hone in on like RPE, especially like say set to set, is set gauging. Perceived exertion has so many contributing factors to a lot of people, whether you've had like we actually know that the way you can perceive exertion, if you're highly stressed and less present in a session. So one of the things I practice with a lot of my guys is in the check-in sheet is how present you were every session. And that isn't to be like, a certain gym where they practice baths and fucking weed shit. It's actually to see how focused you are on the day in the time at what that session feels like. Are you focusing on the rep concentration, or are you focusing on like, I've got these forms to fill out and they've got this report to do for work tomorrow? Like that will actually exacerbate perceived exertion, not actual muscular exertion. So you're going to feel a lot tired a lot quicker than you actually are due to the fact that you're perceiving stress and fatigue like faster. Yeah. So that's something to be mindful of when people are using RPE.
Yeah, that's always actually a funny one as well. It's another reason why it's like a different facet of training. Like I love training jiu-jitsu, for example, because when someone's trying to break your arm, break your ankle, break your leg, or choke you out, you don't have time to think about every other stress you have in life. So it's like, you're not thinking about, fuck, I need to go fill in that form, neck minute choke. Like you don't really have that option. So it's interesting to try and take your mind to that state in the gym where you can, and I guess that's where music and stuff like that comes in, right? You can put your headphones on and try and have your, what's the word I'm looking for, routine or your rituals to put yourself in that zone where it's just you and training. And I guess that's where probably even people bridge into the, going to war in the gym.
One of my rituals that I have before, we both do it obviously, but I typically like to start my ritual at home. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually quite ritualistic. I'm not sacrificing anything, but I'm quite ritualistic. The way that I go about getting ready for a training session, like there's a very set sequence of things that I do before a training session to ensure that it's going to be a good training session every time. And one of those things is I'll mix up my pre-workout. I'll sit down at my computer. Most of the time, I'll bring up the sheets that I've got or the session that I've got for that day. I'll write out the exercises and then the sets and the reps. And just me visually, with that visual feedback, I'll go back through and I'll flick through last week's session as well, have a quick squiz through the numbers. And then that kind of puts me in the zone. That's like my first, I suppose, thing of the ritual that I need to do for me to have a good training session. Because that way, when I'm driving to the gym, I know all the exercises, they're already fresh in my brain, and I can kind of get myself, I suppose, in the zone, ready to go before I'm even like in the session.
Yeah, for me, it's like
that's out of the gym.
Yeah, same. Mine's Nutella sandwiches and coffee in the morning and protein shake before I start going to the gym, listening to a podcast on the way to the gym, getting to the gym, seeing Chris, making sure that he's okay and he's not dead. And then,
making sure okay means actually okay.
Yeah, like making sure Chris is like ready to go. And then it's kind of like, okay, let's go train. Speaking of, should we give the listeners the update of your bloods and your kidneys?
This is a good measure for the listeners that if you're a heavily muscular individual, you're probably going to have some skewed readings when it comes to, your EGFR, particularly or your estimated glomerular filtration rate. And then again, too, things like creatinine. So creatinine, is like I think I touched on last week. They use creatinine as a direct calculation from the EGFR to kind of calculate the number. So if your creatinine is elevated and you have a high amount of muscle and you have a high amount of muscle damage, as I am in a highly stressful state in the contest prep, my creatinine and cortisol are both going to be extremely high. So that EGFR is going to be not really reflective of what my kidneys are actually doing. So a good marker to pull is a cystatin C and a urinalysis. So I had both of those done. And obviously, if you looked just initially at my blood work and you looked at my EGFR, you would think, oh, fuck, this guy's got fucking acute kidney disease or something, or potential stage 1, stage 2 chronic kidney disease. But then you look a little bit further and you actually look into, cystatin C, which is like I said, I think I touched on last week, the protein in the body that basically is another marker it's a better marker of how well the kidneys are actually producing and getting rid of waste products. So my cystatin C was normal, right in the middle of normal, and my urinalysis showed no protein or blood, which is fantastic. So, which is why it's still good to follow up on these things. So the initial cause of the weird taste in my mouth was actually an acute bout of gingivitis. So on my gums, I started. It kind of happens when you go through highly stressful periods. So obviously, stress on the body, contest prep. I got this acute bout of gingivitis and I started getting this metallic taste in my mouth. And then initially me and Aaron were like, oh, well, it could be kidneys. So obviously we did the follow-up tests, or I did the follow-up tests that I needed to do to find out what the go was on that. And then I realized, you know what, this could actually be gingivitis. So I was like, fuck, I might go to, because I looked at my teeth and my gums are a little bit sore. And then when I was like flossing and stuff, like my gums would bleed quite easily. So I was like, maybe it's gingivitis. So anyway, I went to the dentist, and sure enough, she did all the tests and cleaned all the plaque and all the calcification off the bottom of my teeth. And then everything's all good. So that was basically cleared up the issue, and I haven't had any issues since.
Well, it's funny that when we were talking, we're like, as soon as we hear the cause, we know it's not usually like where the symptoms are isn't usually the cause. So we like, let's dig
usually
deeper.
Upstream or downstream.
Yeah. So let's go either side and find it. And sometimes it just happens to be
where
right there and then. That was the funniest part about it. We're like, didn't even think to look at the actual problem where it was.
Must be tenfold worse than what it is.
It's kind of like, I have a sore hamstring. Yeah, but the problem is it's probably your glutes, or it's probably going to be in your pelvis. Yeah. It's like, no, it's my hamstring this time. Like, there's the problem. But anyway, good times.
So that was a relief. So my kidneys are very, very good and they're functioning very, very well. So outside of that, all my blood work was pretty much spot on. So
I guess that's a pretty good reflection for everyone that does listen, is when people think of caloric deficit periods, that the issue is obviously like low training energy and availability, and like you're just going to feel fatigue. But one of the big issues is, and this is what a lot of people run into if they aren't, I guess, in healthy or I guess recovering environments, like good sleep and things like that, is that the exposure of low functioning immune system and low energy availability to recovery in terms of energy availability to immune function. So that whole process, like the amount of people who get sick going through drastic cuts and they think like, something's wrong. Reality is you just got a very low availability of energy to your immune system. It's going to shut down.
Yeah, well, you're in an energy deficit, so you're going to have a lot of fucked up shit happen, or potentially a lot of fucked up shit happen. But should we address what has been circulating around on the grams?
The interwebs?
Yeah, so
there's going to be some differing opinions on this one, I think.
Actually, I don't think there'll be differing opinions. I think it's just one of those. I think it's just one of those funny things. It's like a certain coach decided to has been making the comments actually for a while now. Let's be real. It's probably been like 12 months. Has been saying about building the squats and deadlifts. Basically, bikini athletes shouldn't do them because it builds erectors and obliques and, takes away from the V taper and blah, 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 blah. And then obviously posted an interesting image that's, I think, now been taken down. But
I think you deleted it, yeah.
Yeah, an image of a more heavy set female disabled powerlifter. I don't think he knew that she was also in the Paralympics.
Oh no!
Yeah, she's like three-time champion, gold medalist. Didn't realize. I think I'm going to assume I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. No, not many people do because you're not a powerlifter, but that's fine. And then put it against a Lego figure, like as in trying to say that blocky, you're looking blocky, and that's not the look that's required or wanted or, you know, needed for bikini, which again, I feel like we all agree that makes sense. Like we know that.
The analogy, the comparison is pretty funny. Like using a Lego figure to make a statement about blockiness, like that's pretty funny.
I don't.
Well played.
It's like I guess we're short of all the other fuck ups. The real fuck up was using a disabled female athlete to try and really, like, you really just didn't get that part right. But anyway, I had quite a few people message me yesterday. Well, I guess at the time of this release, since we're recording on Wednesday, messaging me on Tuesday. Saying, have you seen it? And it's kind of like, yeah, I saw it. Like, I don't really care. A few people have tried to sort of go toe to toe with him over the last couple of months, I think, when he does post about this little thing. And it's like, well, I mean, we know that from a physique standpoint and the way that you need to look, the squats and deadlifts will potentially give you a look that's undesired in bikini. But I think as an overarching principle, it's kind of like we don't like blanket statements because, you know, it doesn't apply to everybody, because there are always those outside the bell curve. Like we know that some females can do squats and deadlifts, no problems with their waist, because we do have pros and those that are on the Olympia stage that have done squats and deadlifts and seem to do still quite well. If you're going to use the Olympia as the epitome of the sport, right, they get on stage and still do fairly well. Again, that's not everybody, because the Olympia stage is the genetic elite, right? So it's like, do we use those as the marker, or like what is it we were going to use as the marker to back that statement against, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So I'll probably cop a bit of heat from some of the listeners for this one, but a certain individual I've had a few differences with in the past. But
basically, it had punch-ons.
But to be perfectly honest,
really?
Nah.
I'm so excited, man.
That would have been fun.
But to be perfectly honest, I do agree with him. Having worked with a lot of bikini athletes, having worked with a lot, when you're talking about a shape that you're trying to create that is very, very IFBB-esque, so very bubble delt, bubble glute, we obviously know that there's no specific exercises that are must do for hypertrophy. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to me, there's like a risk versus reward. Mm-hmm. So if you are looking at a bikini athlete and everything comes back to the taper. So if the waist has if there's an exercise that has the potential to potentially hypertrophy the obliques or the erectors, or, you know, whether it's even just like an isometric contraction from holding a ton of weight on your back, I definitely do think it has the potential to maybe not blow out your waist, but maybe not have it as thin and as small as what you would potentially want it. Yeah. And my opinion on this has probably changed more so over the past couple of years since I've started working, more heavily in the bikini realm. Mm-hmm. I would say that I definitely agree with the statement that they potentially do have the ability to cause that. And even if, in my opinion, if we have better exercises that are better at, better in terms of like stimulus to fatigue ratio, better movement patterns that we could pick that are going to, isolate certain areas on the bikini physique, I definitely think that we should choose them. When I'm programming for bikini athletes and bikini athletes specifically, I will use RDL variations or stiff leg variations, but I won't ever use like heavy deadlifts that, go below 5 reps, or heavy squats that go below kind of 5 reps either. And you'll often find, I know you touched on the top 10 in the bikini. If you look at the girls like Issa Piccini, Lauralie Chapalos, a lot of those top girls, when they squat, it's not in the way that a power lifter squats. It's very much controlled. It's mind-muscle connection. It's lightweight. It's very, very pumpy type of work. So there's a very low risk of them, potentially, we know what it's like. If
we're not looking for
barbell on your back.
You're not going to have systemic or global growth effectively.
Exactly, right? So if there's a potential for any global growth in the midsection area, it can kind of ruin a bikini athlete's look. Yeah. So I think that the risk versus reward, I definitely agree with him on that front. So as much as, like I said, we've had our differences in the past, he is a good coach when it comes to bikini. He actually is. A lot of people will say that, they don't necessarily agree with his methods or whatever, but the results speak. It really does. And I've been in the bodybuilding realm for quite some time, and he's definitely stood the test.
I think he's thrown the message in the delivery.
It's just the way he portrays his thing.
Yeah, that's the problem. The image itself, it's like the message you're trying to convey. You're it's almost like you got a chick to the edge and then just didn't quite make a come. And it's just like, and then you always had it.
Then a lot of power. I think the problem was then a lot of powerlifters jumped on it and are basically saying, so are you basically saying your self-worth is attached to your body image? And it's like, no. So
I just don't see where this comes from. It's like powerlifting is not bodybuilding.
We know. And the thing for me is I think that was part of the problem. And I guess when you look at it, if you're going to look at it from like a macro perspective, right? When we step back, if a powerlifter looked at that and saw that the body image was attached to whatever it was, and that was the problem, did he just simply fuck up on his actual meme? Like, because I saw the meme, but I knew what he meant, and I didn't see the body image implication, right? But obviously a lot of powerlifters
down about the body image implication.
Yeah, so a lot
necessarily.
Yes, exactly. So a lot of powerlifters jumped on it, saw it, probably don't follow him and don't understand what he was trying to say in terms of hypertrophy and bikini outcomes. I've just seen.
I think also being 2022 and choosing a female of that stature and that condition, and I guess
he definitely fucked up
history.
Probably
didn't set the greatest precedence for his converson.
Yeah, because then the argument was like, well, why didn't he use like Steph Colin or someone like that, who's a phenomenal athlete and phenomenal powerlifter? So it was just funny. I don't disagree with anything you just said either, Chris. It's like I definitely agree that
actually Steph Colin's a good example. Like, she looks incredible. Yeah, but in terms of like putting her on a bikini stage.
Oh, she's not a bikini athlete. Yeah, she's not a bikini. Yeah, she's not a bikini athlete. By no means. But I mean, also, I guess if you want to use her as the example, she was a weightlifter and CrossFitter, and then moved into boxing. And
what doesn't she do?
She'll kill everyone. But yeah, it's like I don't disagree because we know that in an aesthetic outcome, we do have a selection of exercises that we can choose, and we just simply choose the best exercises that fits the outcome or the goal of the outcome. So it's like, hold on, if your physique requires you to have a very small waist, the smallest waist you possibly can have, why would we stimulate any or potentially stimulate any growth in that area when we can use other exercises that don't? And it's pretty straightforward. It's like the deadlifts and the squats, like guys and girls, does potentially stimulate growth. That's just how it is. Everyone's different. Some will grow from it. Some won't. We know that. We get that.
That's and then, example, even in the males, like I'm a classic guy. I've squatted and deadlifted heavy for a lot of years, and it did nothing to my waist. So does Chris Bonstead.
Well, I mean, you saw my cut. Like I've pulled over 250. I've squatted 250. Like, hold on, but my waist when I drop down is fucking tiny. It's my genetics. Like it is what it is.
When I strip that back, and I think the last deadlift block I did before Dalton really peeled me back. This time last year, I pulled, I think it was like 225 for sets of 4x5. Then I cut down to a 28-inch waist by the time I got down to 6%.
Yeah.
That wasn't even stage lean yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I've never been stage lean and my waist was tiny. Like I could literally fit my hands around like that around my waist. Like it was cooked. But anyway, it is what it is. So
yeah, that wasn't
like I said, I also have seen it with girls as well. I have seen girls that do have overdeveloped erectors, overdeveloped, just midsections and cores that typically do get a bit blown out. So especially in a division like where you are, like your waist is everything. Like you want to be doing everything you can possibly do to
make it. You want it to be as tiny as possible because you're already at a disadvantage of trying to grow shoulders. Like, you don't have the genetic makeup to grow tissue very well. Sorry. So it's like, well, how do we, if we can't make something bigger, maybe we can make something smaller. So let's do that instead, right?
Let's try and do a combination.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in theory, we want, that's exactly what we want, but.
So are you saying corsets and waist trainers? Is that
100% only for you, Ben? Only for you. You're the only one that can pull off a waist trainer or a corset.
I use it off my back. It fucking hurts, right?
I want you to use next time. I want you to use a corset. It has to come under your nipple line, all the way from hip to nipple.
Choker chain around it as well. It's a whole thing.
Oh, jeez, nice going a little bit extra there, but I'm not mad. So, we've actually got a few questions. Should we move into some questions? Let's do it. I feel like we covered that topic well enough.
I want to see blood, but I didn't get any, so whatever.
You think the listeners are gonna come after us for that?
Nah, I mean,
let's separate the two issues. We're saying that in an exercise selection specific purpose, choosing exercises that are going to hinder the goal you're trying to achieve is illogical. Now, associating that image to your self-worth and self-esteem, probably isn't a great thing, and the way he delivered it was probably a little bit skewed or wrong.
Basically, how he went about it, he fucked up. Let's be real.
But the thing is, that's
well, that's what I'm saying. How he went about it, he fucked up. But at
also, he probably just wanted the stimulation for his fucking Instagram algorithm.
Yeah, well, what he was trying to say, I think those that listen to us know that it's like we're fairly unbiased. Like we're not going to be like, we're just going to look at both sides and weigh it up. And it's like, okay, like I still am a powerlifting coach. Like I would not give one of my bikini girls squats and deadlifts for any reason now if they're moving into a prep. If they had done it previously, like I've got bikini athletes that were powerlifters, and we can only work with what we got. That's all we can do. But if I was to get a bikini girl fresh, never done squats, never done deadlifts, I probably wouldn't give them squats and deadlifts if their sole reason wasn't, to get on stage. And then it's like, well, on the flip side to that, don't get me wrong, like he who shall not be named, I wouldn't give him 25,000 sets of glute bridges either, but that's just me. Like, each to their own. At the end of the day, as Chris said, results speak, and dude's got the results to back himself up when it comes to this specific criteria. So you can get mad all you like, and you can get mad at the way the meme was sort of put out because it was probably in poor taste, but I don't think
you need to separate.
Yeah. I don't think he understood what he had done in that aspect because he didn't think of it in that aspect, right? But each their own. It's gone down. Everyone else move on and we'll get over it. True? Fair cop. So, questions. Fucking got quite a few, to be honest.
Are we going to start with something a bit entertaining, or are we going to start with?
Yeah, I think we did the all serious ones last week. Surely there's some funny in there.
Okay, let's do a fuck, marry, kill.
Good way to start. My favorite.
Steve Jobs, Elon Musk.
So I'm going to say Steve Owen.
Marry Steve all day, every day. Rest in peace, Steve. We have fuck, marry, kill. Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. Bezos?
This is a good one.
You serious?
Who is it?
Amazon, bro. Amazon.
Never heard of it.
Bald guy, big note. You would have seen.
I would have seen him.
First guy with a corporate net worth of $1 trillion.
Yeah. Basically the OG of OGs.
Started off selling books online, now worth literally all of the monies.
Yeah, like the money just falls out of his asshole.
There's a game online. You go Jeff Bezos Money Spender, and it gives you all the values of the most luxurious items in the world and his current net worth. You have to try and spend it before his money increases for interest. You can't do it.
I got a question.
Okay.
Can we kill Steve Jobs if he's already dead?
Ooh.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's already dead. The other two are probably still alive.
The other two.
Bring Steve back then. So we're bringing Steve back.
The other two are alive, but let's pretend they're all alive.
All right. I'm probably still killing Steve Jobs. Heard he's an asshole.
Yeah, I mean,
rest in peace.
You know what? I feel like if you're going to get to the level these guys are at, they're all assholes.
I would like to marry Elon Musk. I don't know. It just seems like he is an interesting dude.
Yeah, I'm marrying Elon Musk because it's going to be a great time.
I'm not a Mars with him. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I'm banging Bezos.
Bezos wouldn't got jacked. He wouldn't got growth.
Yeah.
When he was younger.
Yeah, I'm going to bang him because, I mean, have you seen that yacht that they're moving through that they're going to have to move the bridge and shit? Like, like it's a historical bridge that they need to like take part of it down so his yacht can get through. Like, boss moves, banging Bezos. And then I guess I'm going to have to kill Jobs because it's the only option I have.
Fuck him in that turtleneck. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace every time.
It would be discriminatory to not say that because I didn't like the turtleneck ever.
Well, I don't know when the turtleneck.
Hold on, you don't like the turtleneck, but you like that scene in Spider-Man when he's walking down the fucking street.
Yeah,
but
like,
I don't
fuck
like
off.
I never said I liked what he was wearing. I just like the scene because it's funny. It's got nothing to do with his fucking what he was wearing.
I see how it is. It's so bad.
That's why it's so good. It's one of those scenes that's so bad.
No.
That's why it's so good.
It's iconically shit.
Yeah, but that's not a good thing. That doesn't make it good.
It does.
No.
It's such a good scene.
All right, moving on. Would you rather have spiders for toes or spaghetti for fingers?
Spiders for toes because I can use my hands.
Yeah, spiders for toes.
Imagine having spaghetti for fingers. You'd not pick anything up.
Would that make you like Spider-Man? Like you can crawl up walls and shit?
No, well, oh, wait, what?
Spiders for toes.
Yeah. Or
So,
spaghetti for fingers.
Yeah. So if you had,
shoot shit.
yeah, can they all like crawl up walls? So if you have like, is it like, big spiders or like?
I've got one little toe that can shoot shit.
Yeah, can you like crawl up walls and shit? That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go.
Like, if you've got spaghetti for fingers, like unless it's cooked. If it's not cooked, it's just gonna be cracking off everywhere. It's gonna be like that's a shit question. I don't like that one. It's like obviously I'm going with spider for toes. Maybe, what would be better would be spider for toes or spider for hands.
Well, I can only go by what the people ask, okay? Don't kill the messenger. Jesus.
I'm 6 weeks out. Sorry for asking that question.
He's just
you gotta spend my energy, make it good.
He's just a little bit, on the angry side today. It's because he hasn't done any delts. He hasn't done any glutes or delts, that's why.
I trained glutes today.
All right.
I did squat. I hack squatted.
Fuck, marry, kill. This is going to be semi-serious, semi-educational, semi-stupid. Exercise edition.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what the question entails, that's all it says, but I know what the question is because I saw the podcast that the question's from. It's literally an exercise that you can't live without. An exercise that it's like you're almost not embarrassed, but it's like you love to do that isn't as common. So basically the one you're going to fuck, and then one that you don't ever want to see or do again, like ever on the face of the planet.
Bulgarian split squat.
For which one?
The one I never want to see again.
Okay, cool. What have you got for marry and fuck?
I'm going to marry a converging chest press.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to fuck a hack squat.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to marry a hack squat just because it's like hack squat's a bay. I think I'm going to have to fuck.
Honorable mention to cuff chest fly.
Yeah, I was like, I think I'm gonna fuck a lateral raise just because I enjoy the pain.
Cuff lateral raise.
I'm not going to be biased on we'll say a lateral raise because we won't get too complicated. But to kill, I think what's the most pointless exercise we see people do, or it's like just has no translation to anything other than
squats on a bursa ball.
No, I was going to say that.
I don't see it that often. For me, sumo deadlifts.
Oh,
what if you actually pull sumo?
If you're a power lifter, yes. Mm-hmm. If you're anyone else, fuck off. You have no reason
to say rack pull.
Same light. Rack pull, yeah. I'd almost be able to use
above the knee rack pull. Above the knee.
Oh yeah.
See, I could justify
PB on a fucking above the knee rack pull. Cool.
Yeah, putting up a PB on an above the knee, that's fucking stupid. But I could justify an above the knee rack pull in a rehab setting more so than I could justify a sumo deadlift.
We're not talking rehab setting.
Yeah, sure. For anyone else other than a powerlifter. Like that's fucking stupid. I hate it.
I saw a fucking video and this chick has got new programming or something. So in a new program, I can't remember if I sent you guys a video or someone else, but it just genuinely infuriated me. Firstly, it was all hip raise and then extension, absolutely no adductor drive or glutes in any sense. And then went on to say, PB, I'm going to do seems this new exercise in my program, I best PB it. And the form was horrible. And it was a sumo deadlift. And I was like, you've missed, if you were working on these things anyway, for the point of exercise selection of the sumo, you're not even using them, but then you PB'd it, which makes it even worse.
I mean, yeah, I'm not. Anyway, yes, no, I'm not going to comment any more on that. For me, it's sumo deadlifts. It pisses me the fuck off watching. And then you watch, like these bikini wannabe girls like doing really wide stance sumo.
It's really cool technique.
Yeah, and it's just like, that's not doing what you think it does. Like in the fucking slightest. But anyway, that's what annoys me the most.
I still think Bulgarian split squat just because they're hard. Not for any other reason.
Not for any other reason.
Yeah,
they're just fucking hard.
Yeah, it's like they're actually like a great exercise to do from a functional hypertrophy strength. Like they're pretty fucking good.
Single knee stability.
They're just really, really hard, and Chris hates them.
I do program them for clients a lot though, so they're probably gonna be like, this fucking guy.
Pretty sure all my guys have them.
They're gonna like cut this part of the clip out and be like, "Hey, Chris, remember that time you said these things?" Thoughts on TikTok fitness people and the bullshit they try and and the bullshit they try and inform people, maybe it cut off early. I don't know. That's all I got. So I'm assuming thoughts on TikTok fitness people and
Man,
their bullshit.
if you're retarded enough to go to TikTok and get your fitness advice from TikTok as opposed to when there's so much good information out there, then fuck you.
Yeah. Chris did definitely wake up and chose violence this morning.
Yeah, but seriously, like you scroll through, like whether or not you know anything about fitness or not, right? Like you're scrolling through TikTok, you see fucking, I don't know, Joey Swole pop up and he's like, ooh, look at this fucking best chest exercise. It's like, unless you're a fucking retard, that you're going to look at this guy and think this guy's just a fucking idiot. You're like,
it's the same shit I see with that Joe Statics guy. I can't fucking fathom it. The exercise movement plans that he comes up with for some certain muscle specific thing that he's trying to do and then tells everyone this is how you do it because he's on a bunch of gear and has that like body conditioning where you can see it. And like the comments are like, man, you changed my life. I found such great results since I listened to your reels. What do you mean? You just started picking random reels that he suggested to add into your programming? What?
All right. Should we move into a more serious question?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. This is going to be interesting.
F for cuts. Yes.
It's like the person's put in one question in it's 4 boxes worth of questions.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So bear with me and let's see if we can piece this together, shall we? How long should pauses be at the top of the rep on a hack? Are continuous reps more effective for hypertrophy or not, particularly due to the lack of ability to hit maximal load? And then the example as in like a 4 plates per side hack squat for 7 with 3 seconds of breathing at the top versus 3.5 plates per side for 7 continuous reps, but both instances go to failure. Did we get all that?
I got it.
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
So
I think it's really just continuous reps versus.
Yeah, continuous reps versus pauses. So
yes.
I think if this person who's asked this question is probably looking at it too much in isolation.
Yeah.
What matters more is your ability to be able to progress that stimulus over time.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Like either way, regardless whether you decide to do it, maybe you do a continuous one block, and then the next block maybe you do a pause at the top. But the problem with the pause at the top is it needs to be consistent. So whatever method you do choose, if you're not resting at the top, it's good because it allows for consistency at least. Whereas, if you are resting at the top, did you actually have the capacity to perform that extra rep or did you just rest an extra 3 seconds? So I much prefer, I'll do both. Sometimes I'll on my back off sets, I'll usually do continuous reps. On my top sets, I'll usually rest about 1 second at the top or 2 seconds at the top, and I'll keep that consistent throughout the block. So I think it matters less, provided that you're keeping whatever method you're using consistent and you're applying that progressive overload each week, as opposed to just, if you just rested 3 seconds, you probably had the capacity to perform that the previous week. You just rested longer,
Yeah,
I think consistency wins always.
Yeah, I agree. I think using the same method and standardizing the method is going to be first and foremost. If we want to look at the actual, logic and science behind continuous versus potentially taking a short rest, I think 3 seconds might be a touch too long. I think a second at the top type scenario is probably the way to go. That way it makes the reps a little bit more standard. But
people do, they'll go hard for the first 6 reps.
And then they'll stop
for
for
3 seconds.
It'll be like a rest pause.
There's a mid-set break there.
Yeah.
What's the stimulus to fatigue ratio on those final reps?
And we know
high fatigue.
Well, we know that style of rep being like a rest pause set, we know that we can implement that, but it's got to be intended to be a rest pause, not an accidental rest pause.
You need your boys screaming at you as well.
Yeah, pretty much, 100%. Otherwise, otherwise it doesn't count. And then they're picking up the weight. Now,
especially if you're doing a bench press, one has to say up.
Yeah, pretty much. But we know that from a continuous rep standpoint, from a physiological side of things, that oxygen is what basically generates ATP, right? So it's like we need to be able to facilitate oxygen and effectively transcribe or translate lactic acid into ATP with the use of oxygen. If you're doing continuous reps, that slows down oxygen consumption and then oxygen to the blood and through this Krebs cycle, phenomenon that I'm not going to get into because I really can't be bothered. But effectively, oxygen turns lactic acid or helps turn lactic acid into ATP at a certain rate. So if you're doing continuous reps, that rate slows down every time. So the reps do get harder and harder. Now, if that's your standard, that's your standard. It doesn't make a difference. And then that way you can use that as a marker. I would probably prefer a 1 second-ish 2 seconds, maybe max, at the top of a rep each time to get a breath in. And that's the standard to help give you a better stimulus or potentially facilitate a better stimulus, because now we're able to create more ATP to get more out of every set or every rep of every set, if that makes sense. I don't want to slow down from a muscular limiter or like not a muscular limiter, like whatever that you want to call it as a limit, basically not being able to facilitate ATP. I'd rather fail because my muscle actually gave out because it was fatigued, not from a biochemical process.
And that's like, let's be real. Who's really, if your intention is tracking RIR and you're really looking at progressive overload, who is setting up rep speed and tempos that they're just simply pumping out fucking 31 reps or whatever the rep range is, hit your 7 reps or whatever on your plate count? Who's really doing that versus, like, let's say you're building up to your top sets or you've in like week 3 or 4 of your meso and you're hitting 0 to 1 RIR. Each rep is probably going to be a stop, re-standardize, brace, down, execute up, brace, down. Like, you're going to do that anyway. So even if you are saying you're doing continuous reps, is it really continuous? If the weight's that hard that you're actually working to that close to that proximity to failure, is the rep really going to be just a simple up, down, up, down, up, down? I doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but I know Chris as well has seen, like, we've seen the hack squat where it's literally like, up, down, up, down, up, down, just continuous all the way through until you physically can't do another rep. And like, it's not a bad thing. It's not to say that it doesn't work. It's just
you just need to keep it consistent.
Yeah, exactly. So standardizing the rep, if that's your standard, then you keep that standard across the board and it doesn't change all the way through. You then have something that you can match it against each week and progress from, if that makes sense.
Fair
cop. What else do we have on this one? I'm going to shift to the other page because we had a few questions on that one, I think. Let's see what we got.
On the bros page.
Tips for consistency.
Be consistent.
yeah, I know. I love the question. It's like tips for consistency.
That's just like a question of like, how do I get motivation?
Yeah. How do I stick to my diet?
You do the thing.
Yeah.
Start, execute, repeat.
Well, I mean, I guess Ben would probably be able to speak to this more than anybody, but it's like if your goal doesn't force or I guess give you the reason or the want to be consistent, is your goal big enough, or I guess does it mean enough to you?
Well, yeah, that like the thing, if you've set a goal where consistency is the issue that's hindering your progression, the biggest question would be, are the values that you've set in line with the goal you're trying to achieve? Because you've essentially created an incongruent lifestyle that's not aligning what you're trying to do. So actually go back and assess what your values are. So if consistency or being a consistent performer or disciplined are in your values and you're not acting in a way that that's happening, I would say you need to really reassess what that goal is and what those values mean to you and where you actually are, and be a bit more honest with yourself. Yeah,
what he said, because that's all I would say. If your values don't match up to your goal, like, is your goal actually worth, I guess, if your goal's not worth the consistency to be put in, then maybe your goal needs to be reevaluated.
Get into the gym, eat some protein.
Get jacked. Watch YouTube.
If you actually want a tip, like, okay, one tip to be to work on consistency, just start with the smallest possible thing that you can do every single day. Just one thing. That's like one of the best things that I've ever learned, and best piece of advice I give to so many people that are looking to change behavior or improve something, regardless of like your values and stuff like that. If you're actually struggling to find ways to be consistent, start with the smallest possible thing that will develop a dopaminergic response to incite motivation and reward, and simply execute it every day. Then once you've done that for 2 weeks, multiply that, add 2 things. Once you've done that, add 4 things. Eventually you are stacking a consistent lifestyle and you're just optimizing things that are just becoming like flow.
Oh, the old James Clear habit stacking.
Yeah. I haven't read anything from James Clear, so that's fine.
Just go read your local Fitfluencer's Instagram bio and ask her how she does mindset work.
That's where I get all my information from.
I get mine from TikTok.
I was going to say I get mine from TikTok. And if I want some real science, I go to Reddit. So moving on. Fuck, marry, kill. Thor, Hercules, and Ares. Oh. Now it depends. Which Ares are we talking about? So we have traditional, God of War, or we have God of War in Wonder Woman, who was a pansy. Or yeah, like which Ares? We have Ares, God of War from the TV series with Kevin Sorbo, Hercules. If you want to get real old school,
that's old school.
We have Ares from Hercules, the Disney animation. Like,
tell me you're over 30.
He was sick. Like which Ares?
I'm gonna marry Hercules for sure. Man, Hercules is he's the nicest, most well-mannered man that you will ever come across.
Hey?
In the Disney
one, yeah.
Anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so, okay, so we're going to use Disney Hercules,
yeah.
Cool. Disney Hercules.
Marvel has a Hercules.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, we have so many different options.
Hercules.
Yeah, so many options for this. Okay, let's go with, we're talking about the old school classic Disney cartoon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like it. Very nice.
I'm marrying him, fucking Thor, killing Ares.
Who would win in a fight, Thor or Ares?
Thor.
Ooh, I feel like that'd be a really good fight.
Thor.
It would be. I'm almost certain it's happened in Marvel a couple of times.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if we not the Marvel Ares, because the Marvel Ares sucks. I'm talking about like real Ares, like traditional Greek mythology Ares. Like, dude's a badass. Anyway, well, I would probably be similar to Chris. I would probably marry Hercules because he's a sweetheart. I'd probably fuck Thor because
he Chris Bumstead?
he basically is. He's basically Chris Bumstead.
Because
Chris Bumstead modeled his whole character on.
Like, which one do you have a better chance at killing, Thor or Ares?
I think Ares.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I reckon almost Thor would be. You'd have a better chance to kill, but I don't know. I'll just fuck Thor because he's a pretty boy and kill Ares.
As long as it's Chris Hemsworth.
I mean, well, yeah, true. Because Thor wasn't in
my kind of Thor.
Thor wasn't in the Disney Hercules.
Are we saying Thor, or does Chris Bumstead have a Thor?
Thor nutrition.
Good. That's not joking.
You got one for us, Benny, or are we just moving on? Are we?
Yeah, no. Actually, I would marry Thor purely because.
Have you seen Disney Hercules?
Yeah, but
shit's the bomb.
Yeah, it is.
Have you seen it recently?
I'm not saying it's bad. I'll fuck Hercules, but I'm marrying Thor because Hercules is like, yeah, but Thor gets to travel the universe and like go between the 9 realms, and he gets to play with enchanted hammers and gigantic axes. Not to the same degree though. He's not a god like Thor.
That's true. What are you going to ride on his back?
I mean, he does
whips around his little hammer.
Hercules does become a god. He does become a god at the end.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he becomes a god.
Yeah, if you really want to go into Greek mythology, it's kind of like my nerd shit when I was younger. So, like, he technically does become a god at one point, but we don't have to go there. He drinks ambrosia, becomes a god. Anyway, we won't get into that. Moving on. Would you rather watch someone spew or watch someone do a shit?
Watch someone do a shit all day.
Yeah, I reckon I'd rather watch someone spew.
Bro, spewing's just fucking disgusting. I can't stand it.
It doesn't bother me.
Makes me want to spew.
I think is it more the smell or the noise?
It's both. It's a combination of the smell, the noise, and the look on their face.
Usually it's the smell, I think, for most people, but the smell doesn't bother me that much. Yeah.
I think like seeing someone drunk spew, usually because of like it's just bile and liquid. It's so it doesn't bother me. But if someone's genuinely like crook spewing up like 3 days worth of food, I'm like, bro, I'm out. You're on your own.
Bro, if I see someone spew, it makes me want to spew. If I see someone shitting, I don't want to take a shit.
That's fair.
I can just watch.
Logic.
It's like, you know, that, what is it, the meme or the image of the toilets facing across from each other? He's sitting on one, sitting on the other, looking at each other.
We can play tic-tac-toe on that shit.
Do you believe squat, bench, dead needs to be done year-round?
No. In fact, never. If your goal is hypertrophy.
Yeah, I was really hoping that question would get a bit more of a emotion out of Scappy.
No, there's 3 exercises in a hypertrophy setting.
He's a bodybuilding coach now.
They're the 3
that powerlifting bullshit go.
No, I coach both, but they're the 3.
Powerlift is when you go get a forklift.
They're the 3 exercises that do not build any fucking muscle. Like, they're shit house. You have much better options. What else we got? Favorite online course you've done? I know of a course coming out.
Mine.
I was going to say Ben's because Chris hasn't finished yet.
When it's finished, it's going to be a mammoth.
I actually realized one of the things I sort of clicked in my head was my perfectionism was really slowing me down. I was writing out word for word exactly how I was going to say stuff instead of because I've got Loom now to sign up that. So I'm going to run the process through that and have the slides. I was literally writing myself a script. And at one point, week one was 5,000 words.
You can't do that, bro.
I know. I was like, this is so dumb. Why did I do this?
Because then it looks scripted.
Well, yeah. So now I've got to go back and look at it, but I'm going to just have my points and speak not verbatim, but a lot more ad lib, but on the point of how I know to say it. That's going to just sound a lot less structured, but having the dot points and stuff of what I'm trying to convey and get it across. So yeah, I was really slowing myself down there. I was like, there's got to be a better way to this. And then I started looking at other courses and I was like, no one does this.
Courses. I really like the Muscle Mentors have got a good course that you can work your way through. I've also got J3 University, John Jewett's J3 University. Outside of those two, I probably read more research reviews than I do and actual research than I do, I suppose, actual other people's courses.
Yeah, it's been a while. Courses have seemed to be really a real new type thing. Only the last real couple of years where courses have gone sort of, become a thing more so than anything. We've had these online resources like a Muscle Mentors where it's not necessarily a course. You don't sit there and you go through stuff for 12 weeks, 16 weeks. It's go at your own pace. So we've got a few of those, but they sort of came about, I guess as of late, and I haven't really done a course in a while. So I'm actually thinking of doing Prescript this year, just try something different with Jordan. So
I think if someone's looking for a good starting point, I think books are probably a better way to go. I always, probably the first resource that I point people to is The Muscle and Strength Pyramids by Eric Helms.
Yeah.
They're probably the nutrition and the training are a really, really good basis, and they'll give you all the fundamentals that you need. And then once you've learned all the fundamentals, then any course that you do, you won't have to actually learn a lot of the stuff. It's more just learning a lot of the concepts as opposed to what the fuck's a microcycle, or what's a mesocycle, or what's a deload,
Yeah, I think like Chris just said, those books, the Helms books are great, and anything really by Lyle McDonald, any of his books.
Lyle's fucking awesome.
Yeah, if you want to get
bipolar as fuck, but he's awesome.
Follow him on Instagram for great laughs.
Yeah, I think the Strength Pyramid and the Nutrition Pyramid books are great for that entry level. And then it's if you want just a touch up, a little next level, next step up, go to Lyle's stuff because it's just a bit more, I guess, scientific, I think, than those books. That's the great thing about Eric. He can really break down the science and make it really simple for you to understand, which is great for, obviously that entry level. And then moving into, now that you've got the basics and you understand a bit of the science terminology, you can move to Lyle's books and get into those. And
Lyle does a lot of really good, I suppose that he would go more, he does do some training stuff, but it's a lot of heavily nutrition focused women stuff. And then obviously the training stuff, I also like a lot of the Renaissance periodization stuff as well. So they got some really, really good books out now as well that they just keep fucking hammering out. So that would be my 3 recommendations. And then, obviously the Strength Lab course that I'm writing when it comes out.
In 2024.
In 2025.
After he's competed.
The good thing about psychology as a field is a lot of the stuff we can do as third-party CDC points and stuff. Even though I'm not even legally qualified yet, you can literally do, I've done 2 now, 6 weeks through PsychWire, literally 6-week online courses, but you then get certified base level knowledge in certain, because psych is a very umbrella term. It's saying nutrition, and then you've got people that specialize in eating disorders or malnutrition or fucking whatever, nutrition for cancer patients. PsychWire has just this almost a library of courses that you can do that just start to niche in all these different psychology concepts. So you can literally spend, I think it's some of them were $200, $300, and it's a 6-week course. So by the time I finish uni, I come out with more courses by actually looking for extracurricular shit to learn and obviously increase your field knowledge. But it's so easy, 6 weeks, and you've got all these just extra credentials that are nowhere near associated to your actual course. Here's a question for you. Is it the same in your, I don't know how you guys, how uni work for you guys, but I find and am finding that what I'm actually going to be able to apply from my course until I do post-grad is very minuscule. A lot of my knowledge from psych has actually come from either third party or extra resources.
In my instance, no, because I did a lot of internship stuff under, directly under my professors. So a lot of the times I was doing, I did an international scholarship for strength and conditioning over in Papua New Guinea. I did, I worked with some of the NBL, one of the NBL teams, the Illawarra Hawks. I also did a lot of work with some semi-professional netball stuff. So it was good because I got to like apply a lot of what I was learning. Like, and I will say that, Dr. Stephen Bird and Glenn Deakin, both of those two guys, they put me in a lot of situations. I'm very fortunate that they put me in a lot of situations where I was working directly under them. So I was applying a lot of this stuff directly. So outside of that, I think if I wasn't in the same situation, uni would have been a waste of time.
Yeah, I feel like mentoring is really the way to go when it comes to this stuff. Now that I think it's funny because when we look back when we were doing our mentoring, courses weren't really a thing. It was kind of like short course at uni or do uni, right? There wasn't any real like online courses and that sort of stuff that we had access to, especially in this field because there's a lot of practical. So like, you can't really do online and practical. It's very tricky. So having a mentor was really, really good. And that's where I guess most of my learning was done. It was really just under mentors. And then once I've sort of developed those fundamentals, it was just doing consults with different coaches, across the world and picking their brains and trying to learn everything that I could.
Yeah, because it's kind of like what Scaffy mentioned before. He's like, he mentioned the Krebs cycle. It's like, yeah, you'll learn a lot of the fundamentals of physiology, but then when you actually get to working with elite level athletes, it's like, well, how the fuck does that apply to the situation that I'm in now? Yeah. And it won't, but you still need to know it.
And the one thing about the Krebs cycle is you'll always come back to it and be like, fuck, I forgot about that part because it's the Krebs cycle. And anyone that knows, listening, that knows the Krebs cycle, you'll know what I'm talking about in that pain.
So I'll do my, I actually do my ISSN certification this week.
Ooh, did you learn about the Krebs cycle?
Yeah, we did.
How boring is it? No.
It's interesting.
It's handy. It's always handy to know.
A mixture of things of like ATP production, the electric transport chain and stuff like that kind of just exacerbated prior knowledge and little bits in between that I didn't know that just sort of snip bits together. So that was really cool. Which I think again comes back to Chrissy saying like get the base level fundamentals down before you go to these things. So like, expand on what a calorie and a carbohydrate is and a protein is, so that if you go to a course or look to get certified, you're actually taking in a lot more of the bigger picture instead of being stuck on just like, what's a calorie? Like if you're really starting to work in nutrition, should you really be asking what a calorie is?
Yeah, that's a bit of a concern. That's it for the questions. Should we move on to finishing or getting close to finishing this game? I think there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. They're actually not too bad of questions. I was reading a couple. That's why I sort of want to be quiet. I was reading a couple of them just to obviously scout out which ones we want to answer today. And
the homework for you is to figure out the new game. So next week we don't have to like play the waiting game.
Yes, I have. And we've had a listener actually suggest another game. I can't remember what it was. Apologies to.
Did they send it?
They did. I've got the message in. All right. But
did they send you the game?
I thought you meant they send you the game. I was like, that's so cool.
No, sorry. Yeah, I wish. They sent.
We'll all take free stuff.
Whoever the listener was, send Scaffy the game.
They sent the option or the name of the game that one of us should purchase, and it's probably going to be me, right?
They should purchase.
Or we can bring them on and they could just host the last segment.
Yeah, that'd work. We still haven't found a fourth person to bring on for a single episode. This
is also very true. We have applications open for interviews. So
we still have, but I don't know if we've actually had anyone apply.
No. All right, moving on. Which member of the animal kingdom is the biggest cunt? Ooh. I'm going with a monkey because they just throw.
Monkeys are pretty bad.
They throw shit at you. I don't think there's anything that.
Those fucking stalk little kids in Africa.
Who?
Hyenas.
Oh yeah, hyenas are pretty bad.
They literally stalk like dying kids in Africa and like wait for them to get weak enough that they can take them.
Yeah, but is that just like survival of the fittest? Is that Darwinism at play?
I feel like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
See, I feel like, biggest like cunts. Like, what's something that they just do that you just like, really? Like, if a human did it, you'd be like, you're a cunt.
Well, what about a human?
Well, I mean, humans killing humans is quite a normal.
Just as humans in general.
True. Humans are dicks. Fair. Humans and monkeys. I mean, close enough. Same. If getting an erection made a sound, what sound would you want it to make? Bing. Dun, da, da, da.
And then when you're done.
No,
Wow.
Oh, your dick doesn't work.
Now, Phantom Menace when the second part of the lightsaber comes out.
every time his dick goes to stand up.
That or like Indiana Jones or something. Some real good theme music. So it's funny because all the listeners will be like, fuck, you guys are weird, but it makes sense because it does.
I can't argue.
Not in the slightest.
Hey, if my penis had Darth Vader noises every time, I would just be popping Viagra all day.
Just so you can listen to the
just
sound.
so you can hear that and just have that turn up. Like, where's it coming from?
It's like when you downloaded the lightsaber app.
My dick.
If a Labrador were a human, what job would they best be suited to?
Something really like fun-loving.
Childcare.
Yeah, childcare.
What'd you say, Ben?
Bellhop.
Bellhop.
Yeah, you know those like in like those real rich American hotels where you just like they'll get the door, like, "Hey, sir, thank you, sir." And then
I was gonna say like maybe like an airline attendant, like they work
something just real overtly friendly like that. Like,
yeah, fair. Valet parking.
Yeah.
Apocalypse is now. There's just you, a cat, a dog, a sweet old lady, and your stomach is rumbling. What's first on the menu? Or who's first on the menu?
Old lady.
Yeah, same. I'm
She's
not going
had
to kill.
her time.
Yeah, I'm not going to kill a cat or a dog. Humans first.
Cat we guess.
Well, yeah, I mean after the lady. That's fair. We don't like people.
At least a dog's useful. Like you can train it up to be like aggressive.
Yeah, and the cat's probably trying to kill you and eat you first. So I do like cats, though. To be fair,
yeah, I just like
I
animals.
do like dogs as well. I just like animals. Yeah.
Yeah. Your worst ever first date?
Worst ever first date.
I can't say I've had like a worst date, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I don't know if I've actually had a bad date.
Yeah,
I haven't had one of those textbook stories where it's like, I don't know, she didn't pay or I didn't pay or fucking, something weird happened. She didn't show up.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be the one that if you ask the person, I'd be the story.
Maybe that's why. It's like, if you don't know,
It's none of us. It's probably one of us.
Yeah, I'm happy to admit
date.
that. Like, I'd be the worst date for the person. Not that I've had a bad date with a person. Oh, I guess, would that also then, because it was like implied. So it's like that person provided the reason for me to do what I did. So that's why it was a bad date. Would that make sense?
Is there anything that you've done that's questionable? That
not questionable. I've said this before, but again, me back in my younger years, thinking, when you finish your undergrad and you think you know everything because you're
I thought I knew nothing.
I thought I knew everything when it came to science.
Scavenge just thrown himself on the
yeah,
bus.
I knew everything. I finished my undergrad.
I literally just spent the last fucking 3 years getting bum fucked by my fucking PhD professors. I thought I was a fucking retard.
Maybe that's because you're in Queensland. Here it's not so bad. Anyway, basically went on a coffee, well, not a date. It's like a coffee catch up. I didn't date. It was always coffee catch ups. It was an interview the first time. So it's like always went to the same cafe. The owners and the staff always knew me. They'd be laughing as soon as I walked in.
Like this fucking guy's here again.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's like,
My man.
I was young and dumb.
Denzel in the background.
Pretty much. Sitting there, again, to the listeners, I think some of you might know the story. Maybe some of you don't. Don't judge me. I sat down, speaking with this girl. Great conversation. Like getting along like a house on fire. Everything's going well. She then asks me, so what's your horoscope?
Oh, there's not fucking horoscope.
And I said, so, I sort of got taken aback. I'm like, sorry, excuse me. She's like, oh, like when's your birthday? What's your horoscope? I'm like, I don't know. My birthday is in November. She's like, oh, so you're a whatever. I still to this day don't know what it is. Sorry. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I just need to ask, like, do you genuinely believe in like horoscopes? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, so you believe that a planet's position will tell you the characteristics about a person? She's like, yes. I'm like, are you serious? She's like, yeah. I just got up and left.
I heard that story.
Yeah, I know you've heard it because you worked with me. Yeah, so like I got up and left, and then again, look, I was young. About an hour later, she'd messaged saying like that was really rude, and I said, yeah, you're right, but lose my number. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure she's probably happily married with kids now. I hope, but I apologize. But that's, yeah. I mean, I'd probably still do it now, to be honest. If I went on a date with someone and they're like, hey, like, what's your horoscope? I'd be like, hey, I've been here before. I'm out.
The horoscope thing is it's a very touchy subject for me as well. I think anyone that's scientifically minded and has the ability to like critically think it was like, you can't seriously believe in that. Like,
that's where I was getting at.
It trumps logic.
No, I'm just like, see you later. I'm done. Goodbye.
Especially an Aquarius.
The question is,
it's in retrograde.
To what degree is her hotness and willingness to be a freak that you're willing to play?
Like let it slide?
Yeah, when you let it slide. There's a scale. There is definitely a lot.
Yeah, the crazy hot scale. No, the crazy hot scale is a thing, but this.
Yeah, but if you apply star signs to that, where does that fall into the mix?
Yeah, like there's the crazy hot scale, but it's like what kind of crazy? And it's like I don't.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I don't know if I could have. Yeah, nah. So
if she's below a 7, get up and walk out.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If she's below a 7 and you're hearing retrograde, Mercury's in retrograde in the same sentence.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like grab the stones because it's a full moon, so we're going to charge them. Like I'm out. Ciao.
I just need to set up the crystals in my room to align my chakras.
Pretty much. So neither of you have a story at all? Man, I guess if we rephrase it and be like, okay, if someone was to give a bad recollection of a date with you, what would it be?
Man, every date I've ever been on, I ended up like with that person for quite some time. So
you are a true sweetheart.
Yeah, I actually am. I'm just way too nice.
Ben, what do you got? Surely you have something.
The last date I went on was with my girlfriend.
Let's put up an Instagram story. If you've ever dated Chris or Ben, give me stories. I'm gonna be the Nick Truduli of this. Give me the stories. I need the latest updates. Credible sources. I'm going to YouTube.
I actually couldn't even tell you the last time I went on a date.
Oh, there you go.
Can you fucking get out there? Can you put yourself out there, please?
Me?
Can I make a Tinder on your behalf? Let me control it.
You don't have to ask for permission. You just need to take his photos.
You just start screenshotting.
No, but isn't it like linked to an email or Facebook or something?
You can link it to yours.
Can I link his to mine?
A link straight.
I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna download it and be like, can I link Ben Mayfield? I've got enough photos of him. He sends me nudes. It's enough. I'll post them up and then we'll be going, mate. I got you, Ben. Don't worry.
Looks like coming back down to Melbourne.
No, I'll set the settings from up there. Don't stress. I got you.
Ben is single and ready to mingle.
I saw the funniest thing. It was like a meme. It was like, stop playing Tinder on amateur. Set your Tinder radius to the Olympic Village in the country, and it was like it's just like Olympic athletes. I'm like, bruh, this guy's playing chess and we're playing checkers.
100%. That's too much knowledge for one man. If you had to seduce an animal, what would you choose and how would you do it? I think we've already had that.
I don't want to answer that.
Yeah, I feel like we've had that. Okay, last one. This is actually a pretty funny one. Your loved ones decide to preserve you through taxidermy after you die. What pose do you want to be stuffed in? I'm going with the thinking man.
I'm going with my favorite classic pose.
Just hold the vacuum, double bicep.
I'm holding a vacuum, double bicep.
Just one of those ones where it's actually I'm going to go like mid wank pose, like the wanky man from Mount Vesuvius. No, Vesuvius, the one that exploded.
Yeah.
No, what's
I don't know, but yeah, go on.
Italy, Greece. Fuck me. It's one of those.
Vesuvius is Italy.
Yeah, there's that well-known fucking volcano, the island that basically got covered in.
Napoli.
He was trying to whack one out real quick, was he?
Yeah. Like literally, it's the only position that makes sense is that he was mid wank, and he's been like lava burnt alive, but he's
what a legend. You want to be memorable. That's the way you do it.
Yeah.
Fucking legend.
I mean, that's really it for the questions. That's it for that game. We're done.
That's it. Shame of Life is done.
That is done. We got through it.
It's a sad, sad day.
It is. We have to move on to the new game. So
hopefully the next one's as provocative, if not worse.
Yeah, well, I got to find I got to actually work out how to do the scoring. But
scoring?
Well, because it's got a scoring thing in it, so I need to be able to work out how to do it without having like to score. So it's like the questions, because some cards have some questions where it's like it's open ended, so you need to like score.
Someone send us a more basic game.
Yeah, it's got to be simple.
We'll just
for
start
us to be
playing
able to
fucking
do.
noughts and crosses or something.
But yeah, that's the end of that game. So we've done well. I feel like that's
Actually, I think I have a quick bad first date.
now we come. Now
No.
He's been sitting on this one. You've been fucking sitting on this. Don't you lie to us.
Fucking not. It didn't end weirdly. It just ended badly for me. So when I moved to Ipswich and started playing footy out there for the first time, like I met all the guys who were in the team, and like
you got bummed. Anyway,
I got what?
Got bummed.
Yeah,
you're in Ipswich rugby makes sense.
No. Anyway, and one of the guys on that team was like his birthday, like only weeks after being there. One of our first games, and I think it was in like Reggie's or Seagrave, whatever it was for the time being in the new city. And one of the guys I was sitting with, he had a chick come, and she was like mates with him or something like that, whatever happened. And basically they arranged it. So his birthday, she had asked about me or some shit. So she was going to come to the birthday to like see me. And being me that I am, and went to this new footy town where drinking is monstrous. They had this game called Pinky Up, where if you ever got caught in the night with your pinky on the drink, you had to finish it. And all I remember this night is the first hour, because it turns out the drinks that they were mixing, whilst they were in the bottles they were labeled as, were homebrew. So it was like homebrew rum, homebrew whiskey, homebrew vodka, all of it. And I got caught like 5 times. So they didn't even tell me the rules. I got there, and I got pinky on the drink, finish it. And I just made like this brand new drink. It was full. Anyway, I ended up slushing these down and pretty much ended up falling asleep on the toilet, spewed everywhere. And then I woke up, and the only people still in this guy's house were his family, and everyone else had left to go like clubbing out. And I was like, I don't even know where I was at this point, because I just moved into it. And that was that. It was a great first interaction with a female. She'd come there specifically to like see me.
Yeah, that was his first ever interaction with a female too.
Yeah,
like
20 years before that.
Yeah, first and last.
Yeah,
but I guess finishing up, courses coming out, shit that we need to know, boys and girls. What do we need? What's happening? What's going on? Besides Ben's new Tinder profile that's going to be happening in the next couple of days.
Can you send me updates on that?
Done.
So the courses are moving. We've moved into got our graphic designer designing up a lot of, I suppose, just visuals and little images to put onto the slides. So we are cooking. So I reckon I can't, because I don't have to do all the recording and stuff yet. So I've got to go through all that jazz. But as for the actual nuts and bolts of it, most of it's like pretty much done. So it's good. Or getting close.
Beautiful. Benny boy.
Yeah, so I will be practicing out recording week 1, make sure that works. A lot of the stuff I kind of either already have or just simply need to dot point out. So once I get through the first few weeks, make sure that actually lands well, and I guess the recording is the way I want it to sound. I'll just hammer out the rest of it, and we'll start putting it together, and Brooklyn can make fancy slides and make things look neat and tidy.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think for myself, I only have a couple of seminars that I'm going to start finishing off. I've already started writing them to do up the East Coast, because we are unable to travel to the West.
Oh, darn.
Go into New South and into Queensland, run a couple of hypertrophy seminars, maybe link up with some peoples if they want to jump on and add some components. Maybe we'll do a couple down here with Chrissy and jump into New South and see if either of you want to come up. We'll do a psych or goal setting one in Queensland and add Benny to it. Might even do a PD one. If Chris is there, we'll have him up there, and maybe and get Nick speaking. So see if he wants to jump on and do some PD chats. Be fun. Just why not? Just seminars and cruising up the coast.
Road trip.
Pretty much. Girls trip. I mean, wait, what? Did you just assume my gender in 2022? How dare you? That's it from us, guys and girls. Thank you for listening and tuning in as always.
Thank you, guys.
Before we do forget, YouTube's. So if you do watch this on YouTube, please subscribe, like, comment, share, comment, and just bag Ben, really, just so that we know that someone's commenting. Maybe I'll jump on and comment.
Pretty sure everyone's bagging you by bagging me by sending you the messages. We've seen them.
This is also very true. They insult you and they send them to me.
I have a weird client base. The love is there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is a formal.
Suddenly,
right?
split squats end up in all of their programs. 10 by 10.
Yeah, 4 days a week, split squats. That frequency.
Me up, bitch.
Yeah. All right, guys and girls. As always, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next week with a new episode.
See you.
See you guys.